This is an hour-long session packed with interaction and insights. As we start to get settled, a few ground rules. Please keep your mobile phones on silent mode at all times during the session. We will kick off with an opening address by Nidhi Bhasin, CEO of Digital Green. This would be followed by an interactive session with Nidhi and Pranav Khattri, project leader at the Boston Consulting Group. Next up would be a panel discussion. We have a brilliant line of speakers whom I'll be introducing shortly, so stay tuned. This will then be followed by a Q&A. Please participate actively in our discussion through our Q&A platform, menti.com. We will display a QR code throughout the session that will allow you to share your questions with our moderator and our panelists. In case you require any assistance, please indicate so, and our volunteers will come to you and take your questions. With that, please join me in welcoming onto the stage Nidhi Bhasin. Nidhi, over to you.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
हमने जो है फार्मर चाइल्ड पार्टनर ऐप का उपयोग करना शुरू किया और इससे हमने देखा कि काफी चीजें हमारी आसान हुई।
टोटल ನಾವು ರೈತೋತ್ಪಾದಕ ಕಂಪನಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಾಕ್ದಾಗ 400 ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಇವಾಗ 700 ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗಿದ್ವಿ.
ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ನಮ್ಮದು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರು ಅರೌಂಡ್ 80 ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸೇಲ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಈಗ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ 1 crore ವರೆಗೂ ಸೇಲ್ಸ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ఆಗಿದೆ.
అంటే ఎకరాకు 84,000 రూపాయలు గతంలో వచ్చేది ఇప్పుడు అన్నమాట 1,05,000 రూపాయలు రావడం జరుగుతుంది.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a good lunch. In this very brief video, what you really saw was actual impact, actual people, and actual voices. And this is what we at Digital Green are trying to do, that how technology can really help to bridge the gap for a farmer. Sorry, there is a problem with the slide. We need to go to the first slide. Yes. Yeah, thank you. We're talking about a country like India, and where we have more than 150 million farmers, and if you really look at it, while 86% of the farmers are small and marginal holder farmers, but in terms of overall crop value received is only 1/4 of whatever the overall production is. Now, looking at this scenario, we also know that there is a huge imbalance, and what we are trying to do at Digital Green is how do we use technology to ensure that there is more access to the farmer. One of the things that we all believe, especially in the last few years, is the power of collectives. We work very closely with the FPOs, where we are trying to see that when we bring these FPOs together, how can that collaborative really help to bridge a lot of gaps. But just getting them together, just the aggregation of FPO, the members is not good enough, right? To bridge a lot of gaps, technology has a role to play out here. Creating digital platforms which will bridge the data and technology gaps for the farmer is what we are looking at. While Digital Green is working with farmers for the last 17 years, our journey with FPO started in 2019, in fact, with a partnership with Walmart Foundation, where we realized that how technology, certain innovations can really help to bridge those gaps. Of course, we are talking about using data intelligence out here. We are talking about how that can really help to empower the farmer to take decisions, to really get better access to information, better access to marketplace. For this reason, addressing that gap, we built a combination of a platform for the farmers and a platform for the FPOs. A lot of conversation that we really wanted to focus out today out here is about the FPOs and access to marketplace. And when we launched this Farmer Chat Partners, which is basically a platform for the FPOs to firstly get insights into what their shareholders are, what the need of the shareholders are, what is the input available, what is their demand, a sum total of that. And we are trying to see that how this can really help a collective decision making to increase the income for the FPOs and the farmers. Today we would have a lot of conversations. Of course, a lot of conversations about access to marketplace, but as we are building digital platforms, the question, especially when it comes to technology and AI, is all about responsibility, trust, how we are building it. I would also, as the panelists come on the stage, I would like them to really, think about what are the non-negotiables when we are building a platform, and how does really a digital public infrastructure act as an equalizer. We don't need to build anything that will create more gaps. We need to build something that will be an equalizer. With that in mind, I would just say that I hope the next 1 hour is going to be a great conversation. I know there are a lot of practitioners in the room, and we really see how we can collaborate, partner with all of you to see how technology can really bridge the gap for farmers and the FPOs. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidhi. May I ask you to just stay back on this stage for an interactive session with Pranav Khattri. Pranav, could you please come up on stage?
I think Pranav would need a mic, please.
Thank you. So, Nidhi, I think I did have a brief discussion with some of the people who we work with, and they use your application. I think it's come a very long way in terms of driving digital access. But I think the first question that I'd like to start with for, I think, the broader audience as well is, digital is good and digital is great. It drives efficiency. It makes sure that governance issues for FPOs, etc., get resolved. But how do you drive that trust and adoption at the last mile? How do you make sure that A, they trust your application to give them the right output, and they also trust your application to be the single source of truth? I think that will be a good segue as we move on to other frontier tech, which the panelists will then discuss with us.
I think a very, very important question, because trust is a very important factor out here. We are talking about livelihood and income of farmers, right? So we can't really take risk with it. We cannot play around with it. And as we are building technology, one, it is based on years of experience of working with farmers. We've worked with about 8 million farmers over the years. And it is also about understanding their problem from the ground, understanding what is it that they need. It is not about we saying this is what they need. It is about really understanding where are the gaps. How can data and technology really bridge those gaps? And also in terms of ongoing feedback mechanism to ensure that the farmer is using it right, they are finding it effective. And then of course there is always the external data, because how our FPOs are using it. The Farmer Chat partner platform I spoke about, we have almost 260 FPOs today using it. And the fact that they are finding it, there is in the video also you saw, there is a substantial increase in income. These are all indicators of saying that they are finding it useful, they trust it, and therefore it's scalable.
And just to follow up to that, I think, what is that one feature that if someone came to you and told you, drop all the other features of your platform and keep this, which is the one that is most used?
Very difficult to say one feature. Because the overall application is used for, if I have to talk about FPOs, more specific on that, I think it's a lot of features where they are being able to correct input from the shareholders, from the members, to actually then understand what is it that is available with the shareholders, which is helping them to
Do you mean
engage-
supply visibility of produce?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Which is basically helping them to also
Plan their-
and negotiate better prices in the market.
Correct,
Right. And
correct.
I think that is one
Correct.
feature which is the most
And
used by the
institutional
FPOs.
sales can't happen if you don't have that visibility.
Absolutely. And we are seeing a lot of evidence where they were like, everything was manual and they didn't know exactly, they didn't have full visibility on it, right? But today on their smartphones or on the web browser, they have all of that in one place.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
great. Thank you, Pranav.
All right.
Digital Green today. Let us now move on to our panel discussion. While the stage is being set up, let me introduce you to our panelists. Please join me in welcoming on stage Alok Talekar, Sustainability and Agriculture Lead, Google DeepMind; Geeta Gurnani, Field CTO, Pre-Sales and Client Engineering Leader, IBM Technologies, India and Southeast Asia; Nishant Gupta, Social and Environmental Impact Advisor for Walmart.org; and Vikas Kanungo, Senior AI and Digital Transformation Expert at the World Bank. Pranav Khattri will be our moderator for this session. Over to you, Pranav.
Awesome. So I don't want this to be a panel discussion, and I've done quite a few where it is only the panelists talking. So while this is going on, would be great, if multiple questions also can come up at the end, but if you do have something in the middle, please do let us know. And just because I'm a consultant, I'm going to structure this entire discussion as well. I think the first leg of the discussion is going to focus on what's out there, what's picking up traction in terms of technology, what are some of your organizations focusing on that the entire audience can also understand. The second segment, we will go on to what does it take to make the art of the possible scale? What are the issues with adoption? How do we drive that? And lastly, I'll keep it a surprise, and I'll make the panelists take a stab at one moonshot that they feel we as an ecosystem should collectively drive to actually make digital market access a reality. I think the government's done a lot on that front, but now over to the panelists. So how about we start with Nishant? I think Walmart Foundation's doing a lot. I think Walmart itself is doing a lot in the agri-tech space. What are some of the marquee programs that your foundation is driving? And let's broaden this across the entire agricultural value chain, and then let's over-index on market linkage.
Sure. So since 2018, Walmart Foundation has been running this program called Market Access for the smallholder farmers in India. And the work that we do is, as the name suggests, right, like strengthen market access for smallholder farmers. And our theory of change is that if the collectives should solve all the challenges that the farmers face currently, be it on input supply, be it on demand generation, be it on access to post-harvest infrastructure. And in the current scheme of things for the last many years, FPOs have been that good opportunity or good construct for farmers to get connected with.
Correct.
Where economies of scale kick in, where a lot of implementation aspects that don't become viable at an individual farmer level suddenly start making a lot of sense at a collective level, right? So that's what essentially we work on, and then we also focus on women farmers specifically. So our commitment to reach 1 million farmers in 5 years, we also have said that at least half of them have to be women. And the reason why we say so is that our own work across, not just in India, across the world shows that whenever women farmers are involved in decision making, the outcomes are far more superior, right? And that's where it makes absolute ton of sense to get them to participate in decision making, and not just at the farm level, but also at the farmer collective level. Correct. And then when we have been doing this work for so many years, and then there are obvious challenges, right? Like the access to technology is a challenge, access to credit is a challenge, and then finally access to market also is a challenge. And our work increasingly has started hinging more on using digital tools to solve those challenges, but in a very mindful and focused manner, because if you're not thoughtful technology can sometimes create the divide bigger, right? So how do you then create technology that's more inclusive, has equitable access to all the communities is one of the core focus areas for us.
No, very interesting. But just to follow up before we move on to the next, what has been the most successful market access program that you have seen? I think you would have seen a variety of grantee organizations that you're supporting or driving different models. Where, do you see a digital, a phygital, a completely physical model work better in today's context, at least?
I almost got a little worried because I thought you are going to make me take a name.
No.
So I'm not
I
going to take a
understand
name.
that.
But I think phygital always makes more sense, right? And therefore, the partnership with organizations which are strengthening FPOs on the ground,
Yeah.
perhaps the organizations that have set up these FPOs to begin with, and a partnership of those organizations with organizations like Digital Green, Precision Development, or Vadvani AI, these technology-first organizations is something that works the best. And one example that I would like to share here is that a few years ago when I started working on this, I was in Anantapur and we were talking to some of the farmers and we were like, okay, what do you use and et cetera, et cetera. And Anantapur is not too far from Bangalore.
Yeah, 4-5 hours, yeah.
Which also then means that a lot of startups are reaching there, right, with their solutions. And the farmer opened his phone and said that, you know what, like, look at these 5 recommendations that I have. One says that sow the seeds tomorrow. One says that do not do anything. There is going to be rain. The third one says that there is going to be rain. So do sow the seeds. And he's like, I don't know what to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And there is no face to the technology.
Correct.
I don't know who's making it. I'm just getting these notifications, right? So, and therefore the on-ground organizations, the CBBOs, the NGOs that are working with these farmers is very critical. The other element of trust, and you were talking about trust, and Nidhi was also talking about trust, is our own work shows that when the information comes from farmer collectives, the farmers tend to believe that a lot more as compared to it coming from anywhere else, because they know that these people are from the community, it is their organizations, it's a collective. So the trust also builds when you have people who you know, right? But technology is important because it gives you access at a much more economical level, at a much more scalable level, and precision-driven and accurate. So yeah.
Oh, very good. I think that's a good segue to Geeta. And Geeta, just like I think Nishant mentioned, you know, 1 farmer, 5 apps. I think replicable technology in terms of the tech stack that is needed to make all of these startups work. What are your thoughts on that regard, and what's IBM doing on that front to actually give that foundation so that there's lower cost of technology, but there's also high quality in terms of what is happening? So if you could just let the audience know on some of those aspects.
Sure, and I think I'm happy that you said tech stack, because there are a lot of terms, right? If somebody says agri stack, somebody says AI stack, somebody says tech stack, right? So I think it's an interesting development which has happened, I would say, in last 12 to 24 months. Earlier, I think IBM research, especially, I don't think so that IBM has commercialized anything in the agri space. It's largely open source and it's very heavily driven by IBM research. So IBM research was very actively working in AI space on the overall prediction part. If I were to summarize, saying that how do you predict floods, how do you predict crop production, to everything. And I think it was going status quo like a traditional AI models and trying to do a lot of work around soil moisture to everything. But I think there's one challenge which IBM research took when everybody in the Gen AI world was talking about language models, is when IBM research says that, can I just apply same foundation model philosophy to geospatial foundation model? Which means it's a same Gen AI philosophy, but you're now having geospatial models. So in collaboration with NASA, IBM actually open sourced first geospatial model called Prithvi. Okay. And it's very different from vision models.
And this is trained on Indian data.
I'll just come to that. So this is broadly global. what it was, very America-centric. With NASA, it was done. But interesting, the name is Prithvi. Okay, so it was done on that path, and the technology used is called Earth observations. Okay. It's not really the vision model. It's very different from a vision model. It's Earth observations. And we said that Earth observations are needed by many, including agri being the primary sector there. Now what we are trying to do is that we're just taking this Prithvi model to go country specific. So it has been already developed for multiple countries from a data set perspective. And now we are building from India, working with Ministry of Agriculture, working with few states. But as you rightly pointed out, what we are realizing that the data sets in India are far and few, extremely low. Okay, so I think that is one of the challenge we are trying to overcome, that how do you get India data sets to train it. But what we did recently, that we ran a hackathon in collaboration with XStep, to say that, okay, this is the geospatial model. Now, as an agri-tech, you build on it. And that was the way to actually test the model. And I think it gave a lot many better results in terms of what it is doing today.
Understood.
The one more use case, I think, which our research did little more like a science project, but I think it has come in very handy for the Ministry of Agriculture and even disaster management ministry, which was about flood prediction.
Okay.
Saying that how do you do the flood prediction part of it, right? So if I was to summarize that the advancement in technology is from IBM side to go on Earth observation side. Now actually also did solar observation. The model is called Surya. There was Prithvi, now there is Surya. That model just got released. Trying to put a lot more in open community domain because data sets are limited. Every country has very different dynamics of earth and sun and everything. So that happens. But what I see that its use is more and more in predicting things. Like one of the use case researcher was telling me was, if government needs to come out with a lot of aids, then how do they know that which crop production is where? So they're doing an automated crop mapping.
Understood.
Just look at the satellite images in a particular area, like what you just said, and then give a prediction that in this particular area, what's the crop?
And lots of banks today are using that for collection repayment.
Correct, right? So those are like couple of things what IBM is doing from a technology advancement standpoint.
Oh, interesting. I think that's pretty unique. And I think the space that you've also chosen is something which Google has a little, in terms of the new tools and foundational stuff that you're building on agriculture, be that the ALU or the AMED. Can you also let the entire audience know how can they build on top of that? And what are some of the use cases that come out of this tech, if I'm not wrong, built in India for the world?
Thanks. So if you think about agriculture, there are lots of problems. I'm just giving a little context before I answer your question. Like there is water scarcity, people need to change their agricultural practices, people need to adopt new seeds, farmers are facing sort of lack of information in their pricing. And there is no clear solution to how to change this. Like, today we are breathing this air. Even if you make things illegal, it's making things enforceable is very hard. So to solve each of these problems, you would have to invest in different directions. But how do you decide how to invest correctly, right? You need to invest in all of them, but you have to have some data-driven mechanism to make investments. And so we relied on our years of data in our satellite imagery as well as Street View and lots of other data sources that Google has, as well as public satellite imagery that's available. And what we were able to do through the APIs that you mentioned is identify every single field, every single water body, every sort of tree or groups of trees. And then also, once we have identified them, monitor them across time. Like, what is this field growing? When did they sow? When did they harvest? So we are very policy neutral, but we are trying to provide data at the finest granularity possible. data that was previously only available to, say, the global north, the richest farmers, possibly in India, is now available for every farmer. But like, what we find is farmers themselves don't need this data. Like, they know exactly what's happening on their field. But the counterfactual is that policymakers, banks, insurance companies, agri-tech companies, they need this information as a unbiased data source that is available at scale, that allows them to target better. So, for example, if you look at the budget of India, we spend a lot of money on, like, over $100 billion a year on agriculture, like whether it is fertilizer subsidy, loans, insurance, but there is lack of targeting. So today we can say, oh, this farmer is growing this crop, so can we give them fertilizer at the right time, in the right mix, using these APIs?
But to make all of this happen, you need the farmer identity mapped to the land parcel to actually identify who is that person, right? And I think, Vikas, can you talk about some of the things that World Bank is driving in this regard and driving the entire digital agricultural mission in India? Probably talk about some of the programs that you feel the audience could, get value from.
Sure. I think before we come to what we're trying to do at the bank, I guess you talked about everybody talking with tech stacks nowadays.
Correct.
Right? And we have realized that a part of the problem lies there, because now everybody has a tech stack. Digital Green has a tech stack which does something. IBM has one. Walmart Foundation is doing something. Google is also, I guess, building Open Agriculture Network. So in terms of innovations, we have enough in each space, and everybody, depending upon their organization's mandate, have identified a particular area in which they have innovated. The next phase would be now to move from a tech stack kind of a thought process to an ecosystem approach. Now, what we are trying to see within the bank is, how do we integrate all these tech stacks? Whatever IBM might have built, Google, Digital Green, and there are many others. Currently, what happens is everybody comes to the government with their own tech stack. And they would say, if we could use Agri Stack, we will scale up. But if the government asks IBM or Google that what if Agri Stack would want to use your tools and open them up for a usage on an ecosystem, I think the answer to that question is not very clear at the moment. So what we are trying to do in the bank, say, for example, we are doing a project in Uttar Pradesh where we're calling the platform Agriverse and not AgriStack. For the simple reason that now we have reached a maturity level in terms of very good innovations, where these innovations now need to integrate with each other and have an ecosystem approach where everybody collaborates with each other. As far as Government of India is concerned, I think they have done a lot. We have this concept of digital public infrastructure, which basically enables multiple tech stacks to work for providing services. We are talking agriculture here, so providing services to farmers, to FPOs, connecting them to the market. We have a tech stack for that, which we call ONDC, which is Open Network for Digital Commerce. So one thing which we at the bank projects are trying to do is move from the stack approach to the ecosystem approach, and in terms of applications, move to a applications marketplace approach, where for a similar service, there could be 3 players. All of those could ride on the Agriculture Data Exchange and AgriStack and provide those services, and based upon what the end user decides is best for them, which will be like different for different user groups. They can adopt them, and government can decide what part can be subsidized, what part can be sustainable on its own, etc. So I guess from our point of view, we need to move from the innovation approach to the integration approach now, and have some kind of structured collaboration models where all the players can work together.
Vikas, when we're talking about policy and that theme, what are some of the unlocks that actually need pilots to go to scale when we talk about digital, especially on the market linkage front? I think some of your programs have scaled across multiple states, right? But what does it take to go from 200, 500,000 to millions? And what's holding it back? Because we see a lot of pilots happening all around, but in terms of scale, yeah.
I think one, that notion that lots of pilots have been happening but nothing is scaled up may also not be very correct. Many things are scaling up now.
Correct.
Say, for example, in Maharashtra, we recently, about 3 months back, we launched an AI-based chatbot for the farmers, which talks to farmers in Marathi, and in the back end has curated data sets and knowledge base which are owned up by the government. So there is trust in that. It only looks at that.
Correct. For advisory.
For advice. And we've been able to, within 3 months, as of yesterday, we already have 4 lakh downloads of that. And we're hoping within 3 months, and in India, the scale we work at, we're still calling it a pilot, right?
Yeah, fair.
So we're saying we'll have 1 million farm boundaries mapped through a geospatial technology, and a chatbot which will have 1 million downloads, which we are calling as a pilot. So I don't know if there was another country, it would have covered the entire country.
Population, yeah.
So that is one. So how, the answer to the question, how do you scale up? I think 3 things. One is the trust. Say, for example, we have lots of chatbots. We have Digital Green. We have one in Maharashtra. We have something in Varanasi also, which IRRI has developed. The thing is, if there is somebody who is able to, willing to be held accountable for the kind of information which is coming from these systems, the take-up will increase. You know, say, for example, somebody is saying that we're taking data from multiple websites, will not fly with a farmer. But in our case, where the government says we are accountable for the information you're getting. That is first. Second part, I think, is standardization. And that's where I talk about stacks and ecosystems. If you don't standardize, everybody is standardizing around their technologies.
Correct.
Then I think scaling up becomes difficult because the procurement policies of governments are such that you just, even if a system is very well working in some pilot area, to scale it up, I still have to have a global tender and RFP. So if we were to standardize, say, for example, in US, you have this FedRAMP certified cloud infrastructure, which any government can just buy because it has been tested. So second would be the standardization. Third would be contextual. Something that might have worked in Kenya or Brazil or somewhere else may not work. In fact, I'm working on multiple agriculture projects with the government. Within India, what we do in Maharashtra is not something I'll do in Uttar Pradesh. Because
practices would also be different.
Different readiness levels, different technology maturity, different requirements, different contexts. So I think third would be to be able to standardize systems to such an extent that contextualization requires minimal reconfiguration. So if we are able to take care of these things, I think scale up would not be an issue.
I think he's whispering that, Pranav, you've spoken a lot. Drink some water and let the panelists answer some questions. Okay, I think while I review the questions, which are in a little small text, would anyone want to take a stab? And I think we have, different archetypes of people in the room right now. We'll have some certain people from policy, certain people from foundations, certain impact investors, certain, say, startups all together. What is the big idea in digital market access that each of them should support where there's still a white space or unsolved or still has a gap? If you were to just take a stab out there, what are some of the things that you would want to leave people back with? And while that is happening...
I'll take that because it is very rare that you have competing industry players sitting and you can ask them for something.
It's a one-way exam.
Yeah. So basically for us, you asked about a moonshot kind of a thing. Would be to see basically if you ask me, in my work we've done digital literacy studies across 30 countries and have been talking about digital divide all the time. I think now with LLMs, if we can configure them to country specifications, the definition of digital literacy would change from humans having capacity to run smart apps to smart apps learning what a human wants and delivering that. So if we are able to do that, where the front end is a mechanism for a system, irrespective of his digital literacy level, his tech savviness, to be able to talk some user interface, be it a telephone number, be it a mobile screen, be it a facilitation center, and articulate what he wants. And the digital systems then, irrespective of how complex backend we have to make, are able to deliver that. So combining your LLMs, agentic AI, etc., has the time come where we actually do a whole of government approach, which means that for a citizen, the government is just one entity. I can just go to that entity and speak out what I want. And it returns me a public service or information, whatever I'm seeking. So I would say that is something which has the capacity to turn the digital divide into a digital dividend.
Got it. I think from the crowd, we have 3 archetypes of questions. I think one archetype, and anyone can take this, though they have specifically asked for people, but I'll be lenient, sir. One archetype is how do you drive inclusion across 2 parameters. One is access to government schemes. And the second is for marginal, deep rural, tribal areas where digital may not have reached. I know the latter is something that we can't solve for today, but at least on the former, in terms of scheme access, any of the stakeholders you're working with who are driving that regard?
Shall I? Yeah, so one of the work streams that most of our grantees typically take up is convergence, right? Because there are so many, and Vikas was also mentioning earlier that I don't think, we do also think that there is a lot of innovation already there, but that exists in silos, right? So you have organizations which are now thankfully just focused on providing schemes, access to small and marginal farmers, and they are creating capacities in the communities itself that 1 or 2 individuals can actually get expertise in that, and then they unlock the scheme for the rest of the community who may not be as digitally savvy or might not have the patience or the literacy levels to actually go through the procedure in general, right? So I think that work for us has really helped unlock or multiply the resources that are available in a project, because then you get access to the government schemes, and government is the largest developmental organization, right? So once your communities are connected with that, with easy access, with understanding of what it takes, right from first step is knowledge. Most of the farmers wouldn't even know
Yeah.
that there is a government scheme available, and the government schemes are also available at a national level, at a state level, at a district level, right? So, and you spoke about the tribal communities. Then there is an ITDA which is also providing a lot of schemes on the ground. So the first one is the lack of awareness in itself, and the second one is how do I go about it, right? Like I know that there is a scheme like that. Am I eligible? Am I not eligible? And if I am eligible, then how do I apply for it? How to
Correct.
get access to that? And I think there is an immense role for technology to play, and the Digital Greens platform, what Nidhi was showcasing earlier, is also going to serve that that ask from the communities that they should have access to government schemes at a very customized, at a very localized, contextualized manner. So yeah, it's immensely powerful because you suddenly have a multiplier
Yeah.
of resources that are available to you.
And I think just to add to Nishant, I think a lot of scheme access today is obviously constrained because of awareness, but is also constrained due to lack of ability to apply for the scheme. For example, you need detailed project reports that a person has to apply for whenever he's taking an asset, or you get a capex subsidy and interest subvention, but they don't know how to create it. They wait for, the foundation support to come to help them, and they don't have time. I think one idea out there that I would like to put out is AI-based DPR creation. I think that is one tool that today does not exist. Everyone's creating it in silos for their own schemes. But if something is as easy to support someone, intelligently create fixed capital formation, which the government also trying to push, I think will be super helpful.
Can I just add a couple
Yeah.
of more things to this, right? The biggest blocker is, of course, lack of documentation.
Correct.
Right? And that's where most often you get stuck, or any community
Yeah.
gets stuck. The second, I just want to add a further nuance there, like we can debate for hours on how to solve that. But one of the other concerns that exists is that the land ownership in the name of women is abysmal.
Correct.
Right? So if the government scheme delivery is going to be hinging on the land record, it becomes a challenge for women to access.
I would like to add that further, talking about tenant farmers, which are almost 50% of the population, but still not documented as farmers, who do not even get that.
Yes.
But maybe to be more on to the next question in the interest of time. I think the next question is more about financing. I think financing as a tool to drive digital market access. I think we've spoken a lot about technology, but what are some of the innovative financing models that you would have seen within the ecosystem that are actually helping an FPO or a farmer, obviously yes, but an FPO who's never done market linkage actually do market linkage? So some people are talking about co-funding models, some people are talking about, I personally feel that as an ecosystem, what we should create is a risk fund that helps at least the first 10 or 20 trades that an FPO does, because you do make money over an average, you don't make it at the start. But any new ideas on financing models that you feel that the crowd could?
So I think in the bank-funded projects, we are using multiple kind of financing models. Some are subsidizing the service itself. Say, for example, in some of the areas where we have very good applications which some of the agri-tech entrepreneurs have made. If they are able to demonstrate that there is a demand for it and it is adding value to the agriculture practices and is verified by
Correct.
the farmers, the government is able to subsidize subscription to that service. Then we also have, as you might be knowing, built up alternate credit rating models.
Yeah.
Where if there is a farmer who has no credit history, still based upon his land, crop, and what he's been doing, or even the warehouse receipt
Thin file
system.
signals, mobile data.
Yeah, we have a blockchain-based warehouse receipt system
Correct.
implemented in Maharashtra, where you put your produce in the warehouse and 80% of its value the bank gives you immediately, because everything is on the blockchain. The moment you sell it, the bank takes that money back. So that is another way of financing. Then we have some agreements with the banks where the governments give a back-ended subsidy. Say, for example, if you take a loan of 100 rupees and you pay it on time, 80 rupees you pay on time, rest of the 20% the government pays.
Correct.
So
Like a
there are
prompt
multiple
repayment
financing models which are being basically supported.
Correct.
But then again, for every kind of a situation, there is a different context. There are pros and cons of each of the models, and you have to see what fits in a particular context.
Very true.
I'll just add to it, and it's because I'm from tech and talking finance, so it's strictly my personal view, not an IBM view, so don't hold IBM for this. But I recently got into farming. Okay. So I have my farm, and we started the farming in Udaipur area. And you know, it is so interesting that when you're talking about financing model, I was just discussing with my partner, and I was telling him that a lot of time we all invest in startups, right? We invest very like minimal amount in startups, known circles, all of that. I was telling my partner that once we settle a little bit, let's adopt few farms. Okay, there's this adoption thing, right? Because we see this lot happening in education, right? That we adopt schools. I just met somebody who said they work with government schools as a thing. So probably and I see a lot of urban people now have interest in farming, right? And I think if we can start adopting few villages, right, saying that, and then I think we'll be very close to problem statement also.
That's a great idea to put
problem
out
statement,
there.
right? And then we can invest a bit, do a little bit profit sharing, not charge them any interest, which they actually pay. When they take personal loans, I think they pay a lot of high interest. So I actually put this from my personal experience, and surely I'm going to do that once I settle. I'm almost there, like it's 12 months in action.
Yeah.
So I want to do that, but I think if we can all little bit, it's also moonshoot idea from me.
Yeah.
That if we can work like the way collaboratively, I see education as one area where the foundations, org, industry to government, everybody has worked very well on primary education to bring that level. Probably we can do something similar for farmers.
How are we doing on time? I think we're good, right? Okay.
I think this is an excellent idea. We should talk more about it.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful discussion. And it has given us immense food for thought, I'm sure. With that, please join me in thanking our brilliant speakers today. I'd like to invite them to come and accept a small felicitation from us. Maybe start with you, Alok. Geeta. Nishant. Vikas. May I invite Nidhi on stage as well, please? Yeah. Pranav. Yeah.
That's a good call. I think I got the best one. I'm trying the black.
Oh, thanks, Nidhi.